During a Russian Navy exercise, a series of explosions cripple one of their largest submarines, the Kursk. What follows will be remembered as one of the most controversial international incidents of the time, bringing Cold War tensions into the 21st century. The 12th of August 2000, the Barents Sea. The largest Russian naval exercise in 10 years is taking place. 30 ships are participating in the Summer X exercise. Among them is the flagship Peter the Great, of which Summer X will be coordinated from. One of 3 submarines taking part is Kursk, an Oscar II class sub. Commissioned in 1994 as part of the Northern Fleet, Kursk is named after the largest tank battle in World War II. It is a nuclear submarine powered by 2 OK-650B nuclear reactors, which drive 2 steam turbines attached to 2 7-bladed propellers. It is capable of travelling up to 37 miles per hour. The hull is constructed of stainless steel plate covered with rubber to make the vessel hard to detect. Kursk measures 154 metres long with a total girth of 18.2 metres. Due to its immense size, it has additional room inside and extra amenities for the crew, including an onboard swimming pool, sauna, an aquarium, and perhaps most unexpected, an aviary. The sub's armament consists of both cruise missiles and torpedoes. Kursk was designed to defeat an entire US aircraft carrier group. The submarines take turns practice firing at Peter the Great. After hearing the go-ahead from the flagship, it is Kursk's turn. The crew begin loading a Type 65 dummy torpedo without a warhead into the torpedo tube. The crew nickname these practice torpedoes Fat Girls due to their size. One of the key chemicals used in these torpedoes is HTP, a form of highly concentrated hydrogen peroxide. Essentially water with an extra oxygen element added. It is highly volatile and as of the year 2000 is no longer used in Western torpedoes due to safety concerns, but in Russia is still used. The crew are almost finished loading the torpedo when all of a sudden there is a huge explosion from the tube, wiping out everyone in the torpedo room and the control room next door. 2 minutes and 14 seconds later, a second, even bigger explosion occurs, blowing off the entire front of the vessel. Both explosions register on seismic equipment. Crippled, Kursk sinks to the bottom of the sea, roughly 100 meters in depth. The crew in charge of the reactors push the shutdown switch, inserting control rods into them, shutting the reactors down. A possible second Chernobyl-scale event is averted. Although Kursk is immobile and stuck on the seabed, there are survivors, but they don't have long. Hours go by before the admirals in charge actually realise what's happened and finally declare an emergency. While Kursk's remaining sailors desperately await rescue, residual Soviet bureaucracy and arrogance delay any attempts to save the men. When a search and rescue unit is finally mobilised and Kursk's position located, their equipment is both outdated and in disrepair. The Russian rescue attempt ends in failure. Initially, the Russian government tries to downplay the events and turns down offers of help from other countries, including the US. Vladimir Putin has been in power for less than a year and pressure is put on him. After intense public and media outcry, the Russian government allows a joint British-Norwegian team to rescue the men trapped in the sub. Their equipment and training are much more modern and capable of undertaking the rescue. Some Russian admirals and members of the government try to put blame on the incident on a collision with a NATO submarine, but this claim isn't corroborated by any other country and is thought to be an attempt to save face, as well as initially denying any international assistance. Even a decade after the Cold War, there is still much distrust and suspicion towards the West. Even during the rescue, the Russian Navy makes it difficult for the teams to function and places limitations on the areas of the sub they are allowed to. The type of diving used in the rescue is called saturation diving. This is where divers are kept in a sealed environment which brings the pressure level of their bodies to the same level as the depth of ocean they are diving to, allowing them to work underwater without the need for a pressurized suit. Once finished, they will slowly be repressurized to the level of the surface by spending a long period of time inside a diving bell, which over time equalizes their body's internal pressure. When the divers finally reach the escape hatch, a special valve is required to be turned to check if the space between the hatch and the inside of the sub is flooded. They test it and it is flooded, which doesn't look good for any survivors. After working for 7 hours to gain access to the inside, they find a massive explosion has occurred and there are sadly no survivors. All 118 Russian sailors are lost. The government and Putin are heavily criticised for the response and handling of the sinking and come under intense scrutiny by Russian media and the sailors' families. During an address to them, many family members are outraged and shout down the officials, one of which is approached by a nurse and forcibly given a sedative to stop her. The cause of the explosion is found to be from a faulty weld in one of the torpedoes, which allowed HTP to leak from its casing. When the chemical comes into contact with a patch of surface rust inside the tube, it instantly reacts, causing an explosion. The blast then travelled through the bulkhead via the air ducts in the ceiling into the control room, wiping out everyone in there as well. After burning for just over 2 minutes, the fire reaches other ordnance, causing the second larger explosion, sending Kursk to the bottom of the Barents Sea. Remains of those who survived the initial blasts were located towards the back of the submarine, where handwritten notes confirm some of the men were still alive. It was decided to stay inside the Kursk and await rescue, as if they used the escape hatch, they would be left floating in the freezing water or succumb to the bends. It would be easier to rescue them from inside the sub. Unfortunately, at around 6 hours after the sinking, oxygen cartridges the men were using to prolong the time they could breathe fell into the oily water on the floor, causing them to ignite, dooming the last of the sailors inside Kursk. Kursk is recovered from the seabed and the destroyed front section cut away and left in the ocean. The rest was towed to port and dismantled. Many government reforms took place afterwards to prevent a similar accident happening again, including many top-ranking officials being demoted or removed from their positions. The family members were compensated by the government, and a memorial made out of the saved sail of the sub. If you enjoyed this short documentary, make sure to give it a like rating for the time and effort I put into making it, and subscribe if you want to catch new episodes as I upload them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.